So yeah, so all of these companies, all of these retailers definitely have people that are, reading the same data points that we are. So they for sure knew that with student loan repayments coming back online, that it was going to hurt their profit margins.
I think the world knew it. I just think that the sad state of affairs was that most people really believed that the White House was going to actually do this, even though we said over and over again on the show it was unconstitutional. And guess what? It still is largely unconstitutional as presented for the macro, but of course, similarly situated people treated differently. Generally has a different response when you're looking at people who are in different financial positions. So I don't think what's happened so far will be contested from a constitutionality standpoint, but certainly if you did everybody, you can always expect that to be challenged.
Mm-hmm.
Always. Well, there's a 401k kind of position that's happening, an evolution of the 401k world.
Yeah.
That I think is a good jumping off point. So now we know that holiday spending is likely and is projected to be lower because of some of the extra stress that we've seen in the economy. Well, that isn't the only sign, kids. From CBS News, here's how much or how little the typical American has in a 401k. I found this stunning. Did you?
Yeah, of course. This is something that's near and dear to my heart.
Okay. Why is that?
Because I remember being in my early 20s and talking to my friends, because I took a personal finance course in college. Yeah. And I quickly realized, how important it is to understand what compound interest is.
Compound interest is amazing.
Right? Eighth wonder of the world. And I made sure to go and tell all my friends. I think, Haroon, I don't know if you remember, I was on his ass for years saying, hey, dude, get started. Throw some money at it, whatever you can. Just whatever leftover money you can. Even if it's $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever you can, and let that thing grow, because it's the thing that's going to, really help you in the long run.
Yeah, vastly underestimated because people look at it as a way to impact their cash flow for spending ability now, and they don't see the value.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the rhetoric on social media right now is like, why would you invest in a 401k, bro?
Yeah.
Can't use it until you're almost dead, 65. And I'm like, bro, we're living in the 80s.
Right.
That's 20 years of your life.
Yeah, and if you're banking on medicine only getting better.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right.
Or you're on TRT, sponsored by transcendcompany.com.
Yeah.
Go to transcendcompany.com/THSP. Click the link and fill out your information so you can learn about how I stay sexy year-round.
Yeah, and how you'll probably live longer than me.
I actually want to try their Wolverine stack or whatever it's called. It's on.
I like that they call them stacks.
Yeah, well, because you're stacking different peptides, but yeah.
Yeah, I know, but we were calling different things stacks on the last episode.
Bibles. Yeah.
Racks and Bibles.
As of the third quarter, 401k participants whose plan was managed by Fidelity Investments had a median balance of $23,800. According to recent data from the wealth management firm, I found that number to be shockingly low, considering it's the average of everybody.
Yes.
Well, savings were even slimmer for other types of retirement plans, with median savings of $20,600 for 403B accounts and $14,500 for individual retirement accounts.
Mm-hmm.
One measure of how many people are likely to fall short, an August survey from brokerage firm Charles Schwab found that Americans say they need $1.8 million to retire comfortably.
That's a lot of money.
That's a big difference from $23,800. Now,
a long way to go. Yeah.
I will say, most Americans, historically, and I think we're walking into some very uncharted territory with times where this is going to pivot, have built up the majority of their net worth and the equity, the appreciation in their home values over time.
Yes. But there's no reason why you can't have both.
There's no reason why you can't have both. And this should be, at least a significant component of your net worth. It should be.
We know that 60 to 65% of Americans out there are living paycheck to paycheck, right? And I know this is a tough time right now for everybody given where inflation is, and I know minimum payments on your credit card bills are sky high because credit card debt's at an all-time high of $1.08 trillion, right? But an easy tactic that you could take that I adopted like a while ago to make sure I could hit that threshold, because there is a threshold, if you don't know, that you can only, I think, deposit up to $18,000 a year into your 401k, right? They cap you. And one thing that I did early was to, anytime I got a pay raise, I would put a little bit more into my 401k to make sure that I would try to hit that mark.
Okay.
That's one tactic, and something that it's what's really beneficial is the money that comes out of your paycheck is pre-tax dollars. So then it ultimately lowers your taxable income at the end of the year.
Yeah, it does. And depending on what your financial position is in life and what you're doing, it could be more or less impactful. But it's certainly something from a compound interest perspective, even if you have to put it in and pay taxes on it, in my mind, it's still worth it.
Yeah, 100%.
So Haroon has just brought up Feathering the Nest Egg. It's a chart from this same article which compares Gen Z, Millennials, Gen X, and Baby Boomers savings. Obviously, the Baby Boomers have the most. They're just an older generation, so compound interest has helped them out the most. But it's kind of shocking to see where these numbers are, at least where they're starting from today versus where these people are at now in different generations. I don't know if this tells me a whole lot, but it shows the average amount of the money across each generation and how they've saved for retirement. I think if anything, it's compelling. The baby boomers now have used this and leveraged this, plus the equity in their homes for what we'll talk about in the future in a lot of the housing market. So that's what these two articles really link together is I want to set kind of the context of the gap in disparity.
Yeah.
And for one of those, hey, let's give you guys a little bit of the ball now, as they say in law school, or the point of this whole kind of macro conversation. The biggest concern that we've had with what we're seeing in the housing market and I keep saying unaffordable, but this affordability crisis is that if the middle class cannot continue to buy and that they can't have this equity appreciation in their home, clearly, if you look at the CBS News article, they're not going to get that in the 401k. So where are the investments that most Americans are going to make to help continue to push them into the middle class, if not the upper class?
Right.
It's going to be starting businesses. It's going to be things like that because you're not going to get it from where traditionally you could be a saver and just save and get there.
Which I think is something that is even more intimidating, right? To start a business, I think requires a lot of planning. And whereas if you were to start just investing into your future long term, if you're adverse to risk, right? There's different risk levels you can apply to your accounts, right? There's low to moderate to aggressive.
Yep.
Right? So if you can take a less aggressive approach and really plan for your future, but I agree with you. I think people are going to have to start businesses if they're really going to try to find a way to bump themselves up either into the middle class or the upper class.
And people say, well, Chris, I could always invest in things. Yes, but if you're going to be very good at investing in something, you're effectively starting a business. Your business is investing in assets, assuming you have the investable dollars.
Yeah.
So it's really no different from a perspective. I think the sad conclusion that Saied is alluding to here is the younger generation is going to have to get used to taking on more risk to accomplish their goals, whereas the now baby boomer generation had the luxury of saving their money, putting into a home, building a 401k, and boom, those things together give them this opportunity for wealth in their later stages of life, which I don't know that this particular earlier younger generation is going to have that same luxury.
Yeah.
What if millennials haven't done anything yet? What recommendation would you give for them?
I mean, start all of this if you can, right? I mean, if you can start your 401k, if you're with a company that does that, do that because they match your dollars. It's free money. Certainly dollar cost average. Find low cost index funds. I'm a big fan of VOO, IVOO, all the Vanguard low cost ones. If you're going to self manage, you can start something like Acorns, which The Rock is now endorsing. He has I
remember you started that like I want to say over 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah, no, and it's been interesting. So for those of you who don't know how Acorns works, they're in Irvine, so they're close proximity to our corporate offices, but
no affiliation with us.
No affiliation with us whatsoever, other than the fact that obviously I look like The Rock, and there's a aesthetic symmetry there.
Symmetry.
And Saied looks like
symmetry.
And Saied looks like what? I'm not gonna
Kevin Hart.
Oh,
I'm okay with that.
That's mean.